Hello, my name's Josie and you're listening or watching the YogaLocal podcast. Today's episode is about spaciousness and how Ayurveda and yoga as sister sciences can really help us support this desire to find stillness and space in our life. Finding space in a busy world isn't easy, and I just want you to reflect back at a time when it was forced upon us, right? During lockdown, that pattern interrupt, that extra space was enforced upon us, and it was something that we all experienced together. Life slowed down, right? What did you notice? What did you notice about that period of time? What did you have more space to do? How did that make you feel? Maybe you had more space for your friends. How many Zoom calls did you have, like reconnecting with people you maybe hadn't seen in a while? Maybe on like your healthy habits. I know that quite a few of my friends were doing Joe Wicks videos here in the studio. We had live online Zoom classes, which everyone was getting behind. Maybe eating more healthily as well and more mindfully and just taking time. I know lots of people really took advantage of that hour a day, like to go out for a walk. How many of you are still taking space in your day to go out for an hour's walk? Just reflect back on that, because that's really at the heart of what I want you to think about today is, where is that space now become constricted, and how does that make you feel? And like, there is this inner knowing, right, that it's not great. Right, we know that that's not a healthy way to be, but we kind of feel powerless, that I'm just too busy, or I've got so many obligations, it's I've got this deadline, or I've got that commitment or that responsibility. It's just not possible for me, and we can get really locked in those conversations. So, I don't think that it's a big ask for us to be able to say to ourselves once a day, on a daily basis, which is where a consistent, dedicated yoga practice can help, is to come back to yourself, whether it's through a physical practice, a breathing practice, a meditation practice, or a complete practice. We can build from wherever we are, but if we're not taking that time on a daily basis to be still, reconnect, and find that part of us that actually is still enough to have a new thought, that, oh, maybe I can, or maybe if I just shifted this, or maybe if I just got help from over here, or maybe if I just dropped this obligation, or maybe if I just had that conversation with my supervisor, or maybe if I just ask the kids that they don't interrupt me for 10 minutes in the morning. There is potential in everything, but maybe we're not creating the opportunity for that to happen, and just allowing the busyness of life to take over and give us that excuse to not pay attention to ourselves until, of course, it's too late. And that's what tends to happen, and it was my experience. I was in a place where I was not listening to that inner voice that was telling me that that life was getting on top of me, and the overwhelm and the stress just kind of took me to a place of burnout and anxiety and depression. And it's cruel to be kind. Life kind of takes you down at some point. If you're not going to pay attention, if you're not going to create that space for yourself, at some point life is going to, out of love for you, pull the rug from underneath you and say, and ask, and you're going to have to find those inner resources. You're going to have to find that creativity, and you're going to have to ask for that support or take more time for yourself. So, like, my view is, wouldn't you want to get at the front end of that and possibly start to craft time into your day so that we don't get to that point of burnout, so that we don't get to that point where we don't have a choice, So for me, that is the real value of practice. That's the real value of coming back to my mat every day, meditating every day. It's giving that pause point. You know, Deepak Chopra used to say, or probably still does say, he's not dead yet, that we have 80 to 90,000 thoughts a day, and like 90% of them are the same thoughts as we had yesterday. And like when I heard that, something kind of like cringed inside, because, you know, that spoke to me on a level that was so true. And like, if we're just living out the same thoughts over and over again, we're living out the same life day to day over and over again. And yoga and Ayurveda as sister sciences that work together to up-level us and take away our limits and help us to explore who we are on a much more expanded level. You know, they start to remind us that we are this unlimited being with potential to create new thoughts, right? But if you're so wound up, if you're so blinkered into, this is me, this is how I'm not, you know, I'm not able to change, then like that's going to be your future, right? We you know, I'm coming back to that saying, you know, we become what we think what we think is what we are. But the good news is we can change what we think, right? And the practice of Ayurveda and yoga are designed to give us that opportunity. It's like in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali says, you know, the goal of asana, right? It's not to get, asana is posture, by the way, you know, all those crazy shapes that yogis throw during class. But the goal of posture, the goal of the asana, is not to have, you know, super flexible hamstrings or be able to, you know, put your leg behind your head. It's about stability, and it's about spaciousness, and it's about ease. So when we practice those things, those are the qualities that we're looking to cultivate. Stability of mind, right? So we can slow those crazy thoughts down for a second and find that space between them where there's that little seed of potential which we can nurture and grow and weed out all the useless, meaningless thoughts that have no impact on our growth and just get in the way of us blossoming. So stability, spaciousness, and ease, right? So it kind of goes against everything that maybe, you know, everything that we sometimes see being advertised as yoga. But essentially, that's what we're looking to cultivate. That's that spaciousness. And why, as I said, it's because that space between our thoughts is where our potential hangs out, right? It's not in our thoughts in the past, that's already happened. It's not in the future, like that's not happened yet. But where we get to create is in that space between our thoughts. And so if we can take time to expand that through our practices, which meditation is, you know, obviously, that, you know, one of the main practices that helps to get us into that space, then we're going to have more opportunity to start to really craft our lives in ways that maybe we think aren't possible currently. You know, but yeah, meditation is like the culmination of practice. It's like, once we've got the body stable and our mind stable, we have the landscape for meditation, right? But, you know, there's absolutely work to do to get us to that place. And that's where the posture work comes in. We get the body strong, and when the breathing, and we get the mind and the body working in harmony. We get our energy body optimized, and then we learn how to direct that energy. And then we can use that energy with a calm, stable mind to empower that potential that each and every one of us possesses innately. Hope this is making sense. So, upshot is, where are you finding space in your day? Are you cultivating space in your day? Are you writing it off as something that you don't need? Something maybe that lazy people do. You're far too busy for that. You've got far too much to do, right? This is the secret to your greatness, stepping back to move forward. So let's look at some ways. I've got a few ways that I can start you off with, and they're really simple. I want you to kind of park any thinking that it has to be complicated or hard work to work, right? Because that is an outdated mode of thinking, and we need to get creative, remember. So 5 things. First of all, very simple technique to lighten your digestion and find a little bit of space in your body is to drink warm water with lemon in the morning. Okay, so this will kickstart your digestive system. You know that the digestive system is key to health according to Ayurveda. So in order for us to process not just the nourishment from our food, we also need to be able to process the nourishment from our life. So cultivating our digestive system and our digestive fire is one of the first things that we can do in the morning, really simple. I'd also say mindful breathing, coupled eventually, potentially with meditation. Again, you don't have to go all guns blazing and, you know, challenge yourself with a 20-minute meditation straight off the bat. You know, maybe just sit and focus on your breath for 5 minutes before you do anything in your day, and just notice how that will set the trajectory for the rest of your actions. It just brings you into that landscape, right? Brings you into that landscape where you're more ready to observe and witness and pay attention, and you create that space for new opportunities and new thoughts to grow. So yeah, mindful breathing, meditation, and lemon and warm water in the morning. The other thing that we need to do mindfully is eat. I've said this in previous podcasts. So Ayurveda is very clear that we need to not just look at the quality of the food, which is very important, and the energy that it contains and how it got from farm to fork, but also how we eat and in what environment we eat. So like pay attention to you know, how you are how you're eating, right? You know, if it's on the hoof, you know, driving to work with the toast in one hand and the coffee in the coffee cup, you know, racing to work, probably not the best way to bring well-being, right? And to offset stress. So, you know, we need to start to think about, you know, the importance of all these little actions that add up to massive benefits when we start to restructure. And again, this is why daily reflective practice is necessary, because, you know, we'll soon get back into old habits. You know, just have to, you know, reflect back on lockdown. Like, I personally thought that would be enough to get a lot of people changing their habits, but it's just been really, really shocking, really, and frightening just to see how quickly and readily we all just jump back onto the speed bullet train, right? So anyway, small things over time, be consistent, do things daily. That's how they will embed. Consistency is really the key to fulfilling on the goals and the commitments we make to ourselves, not the actual goal itself. We can all have goals, but if we're not consistent in our approach to achieving them, then we'll never get anywhere. So mindful breathing, mindful eating. Similarly, again, 5 senses bring in information. If too much information overload. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about your environment and how much clutter, how much noise is in your environment. Like, you know, I know how overwhelmed I get when I walk into our garage. I tend not to go in there because it's like the amount of stuff in there. Similarly, the loft, right? There's an opportunity here to just witness how things feel when they're constricted, and then work to remove the constriction, whether that's, you know, your garage, your loft, you know, it's your kitchen drawer, or it's your, you know, clothes cupboard, right? The more space that you can bring into your world, the more breathing room that you have, the more space in your mind, for you to kind of have that opportunity to be creative. Okay, so declutter your environment, and then finally up-level your routine, bedtime routine specifically. because Ayurveda really emphasizes sleep as this tool for well-being. It's not a tool for well-being. Sleep is vital for well-being, and specifically Ayurveda says the hours between 10 and 2, which I think are those hours that we tend to kind of like resist going to bed, right? We'll just start scrolling on our phone, or we'll finish a few emails that we should have tended to in the day, or we'll get hooked into yet another series of another Netflix show, which by its nature is not particularly healthy for us anyway. So let's recognize those habits and start to make new choices, right? And the big news about doing this is the more you do it, the more space that you get, and the more space that you get, the more opportunities that you have to bring even more space in, and it's an ever expanding opportunity. And that my advice is just not to go at it, out the gate too fast, because change can be change can be confronting, and the last thing I want is for you to kind of give up. So and I can't stress enough, this is why having a daily practice is key, because it will just keep you plugging into what you need to do. And journaling is great for that as well. So set yourself these intentions, and then self-govern. Yoga is about self-governance, looking at your life, looking at yourself, and being honest with what is reflected back when you're practicing, or when you're journaling, or when you're meditating, and then making the necessary adjustments with stability of mind, with calmness, with compassion, with non-judgment, so that you can then lean into your next best action and really lean into your full potential, which is the path of yoga, leaning into our greatness, leading into our full potential, not getting constricted into one ways of working and being dogged and striving and not open to new ideas and creativity and possibility. So there are my 5 tips. I've also written a little blog on this subject, and also quite a heads up here as well on our next Ayurveda workshop, taster workshop. We run them 3 times a year. They're about 2 hours each, and they just kind of give a little bit more of a under the hood look at Ayurveda, and the tools and techniques of Ayurveda, and how we can use them to bring back harmony to ourselves and realign with our true nature. We do them 3 times a year to coincide with the shifts in the season, because the shift in the seasons cause shifts in our state, in our energetic state, and it's about witnessing those, reflecting on those, and making those subtle adjustments that are appropriate for that particular season in our life. So the next one is going to be in summer, and there's specific things that we need to be paying attention to if we want to kind of ride the seasons a little bit rather than coming up against them. So that will be July the 8th. That's the 2-hour workshop. And then if you love that, and we hope you do, we have a full day retreat at the end of July. So lots to learn, lots to absorb, lots to think about, and hopefully you can find some space in your day and in your calendar to maybe have the curiosity to come and check out and learn about these exciting ideas and traditions that really will be there to serve you throughout your life. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and please do feedback. Let me know your comments. If you're struggling with finding space in your day, share your struggles, and maybe we can help each other out and overcome them. Okay, so I'll leave you with that, and see you on the next podcast. Bye for now.